morning, everyone. Welcome to this week's edition of the Renew Podcast. I'm Kristen Andre, your host. And back with me again is my friend Lisa Kronen.
Going for the trifecta.
Exactly. We're going for the trifecta here because we've had her with us the past couple weeks talking on a number of different topics. We saved this one for the last episode Laura is doing with us because, we talk a lot here about parenting. So this is a parenting episode for those of you guys that are parents, but specifically an episode about when those babies grow up. Because, I've had so many friends lately that like, oh, time flies, enjoy every moment. And you had to fly this time because your oldest just left home.
He did.
To go to college.
It was really, honestly, the hardest day of my life.
And
actually, leading up to it was harder than the actual day, which is weird.
And that's why I wanted to talk about this because it's really interesting to me. I have our friend Linda, Linda, Henninger, she, when her daughter left, it was the end of the world.
Yeah.
When my daughter left, I'm like, let's pack some bags. Let's get, not that I love them any less. And people were giving me grief. They were like, you're going to miss them. You're going to do. I'm like, my job is to grow. And I tell this to my kids all the time. My job is to turn you into good, help develop you into good humans.
Right.
And launch you. That's my job as a mom. So I'm very tactical. I'm like, okay, this one did pretty good. We haven't been arrested. We haven't, been anything like that. She's good. So, but I know it's not like that. Maybe I'm the cold, heartless one.
Maybe. No.
And I was emotional.
No, I agreed with the whole, well, everything you said is right, but and I agree with, you have to prepare your children. That's what you have children for. And from the day they're born, you're preparing them to.
Some people are not doing a good job at that.
Well, I agree with that, but you certainly did a good job.
Oh, thank you.
But you're preparing your child to be able to take care of themselves one day, right?
Yes.
That's, and to be a good human. You're raising good humans, right?
Yeah.
So that all aside, the launching part is the part that I had the problem with.
Well, and I will say that's tough because, for those of you guys listening that have younger kids, and mine are spread out. I mean, mine are 12 to 20. My oldest will be 23 soon. So we've got 12 to 23 in the little Andre house here.
Span.
All girl. It is a big span. And for those of y'all nosy people I don't know asking, yes, it is all the same father. I have been asked that by strangers before.
Yeah, but your kids look alike.
They do look alike. But I've been asked that, especially if they don't see them and they're like, how old are your kids? Yeah. And I'm like, 12, 16, and 20, 23. And they're like, same dad? I'm like, well, and I always answer the same. I'm like, first of all, rude of you to ask.
Yeah.
But second of all, yes. But so I think for me, it was harder to launch Bailey, my oldest. And I joke that it was easy. I was like, see you later.
Because she was the first one, though, right?
She was the first one.
I think that.
And I think for me, the fact I had two more behind me, and I feel like by the time we get to Kennedy, my youngest, I think that's going to be a lot easier. Just because I don't know, maybe I think it might be my last one.
It might be harder because then you're like empty nest and you're just like there by yourself.
I know. Well, and it's going to be quiet. I mean, you know my girls.
Yeah.
When I launched the last one for me, my house is going to be deafeningly quiet.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if that's a word. I just may have made that up.
Deafening.
It's going to be quiet. Really quiet. Definitely. But because she's the loud one. Now, we kind of joke, my nickname for her is I call her Mostest because she's the most like me. So she's, sassy, no filter, loud, all that stuff. So it may be very quiet. I don't know. But I think with each child, it's different.
Right.
And I'm wondering how much of it's the parent versus child. Like Bailey, my oldest, when she went to undergrad at University of Georgia. She's in law school up in New York now. She's very independent, has always been fiercely independent, which I try to raise my girls to be. So I think for me, I wasn't worried about her. Like I missed her. Georgia was only hour and 15 minutes away. But I wasn't worried about her.
Well, I'm not worried about Jesse, my oldest. I'm not worried about him either. I know he's going to make good choices. I know that he was raised right.
Good kid. Yeah,
I know that I'm not worried about him with school or doing amazing in his classes, nothing like that. It's like I'm worried, and it sounds weird, I guess, but I'm worried like the bond that we have is not going to, maybe be as strong because he's going to meet other people and then they're going to become, so much more important to him. And I'm going to be like, what about me? So I think that's where my fear comes from, or my sadness was coming from, because just, I homeschool my kids, and I don't think that it's relevant and not relevant in the situation. I mean, I was with them more than most parents are with their kids, right?
Sure.
So they were around all the time, and I don't feel that there was any negatives with that, because they had tons of, they would go out, they would do their thing. It's not like they just sat home every day and, we stared at each other.
Yeah, we traveled. My daughter wanted to sign up for your home. So I texted you. I was like,
a lot of people did.
Mia would like to join your academy. Because you guys do,
Kronen Academy of Arts
when they
and
took
Sciences.
Spanish, they went to Spain.
Yeah, we went to Spain.
I mean, it was
and
awesome.
When we were reading Romeo and Juliet, we went to Verona to,
I think that's so cool.
to see Juliet's balcony. No, but I think that so the relationship that I have with them is more like both of them, but I'm just talking about Jesse right now. It was very like I would talk to him about everything.
Yes.
I would
you
talk
said
to him
it.
about
He's one of your best. He's one of
yeah,
your
he's
best
one
friends.
of my best friends. Like I feel like I'm losing my best friend. Like I'm not just like my kid. I feel like he's my best friend.
And I think that may be the dynamic and the difference, because I know Linda, when her daughter Kristen went away, that was the same issue. It's like, this is my person. I talked to her about everything.
Right. Yeah, I talked to him about stuff, with family, with things that go on with my friends, things that go on with my family. Like I'll talk to him about that, and he's so wise, and I feel like it was just like he was just a really good person to bounce things off of. And every day we talk about politics and current events and everything going on in the world. The first thing he talks about is, hey, what's going on in the world today, Mom? Like as soon as basically he sees me, what's going on? What's the news? Tell me the news. And we'd watch TV, certain shows at night. We'd play chess all the time. So it's like, what happened?
Yeah, when you can do that.
He's like, that was my friend. So I think when you think about it that way, and it wasn't an unhealthy type of relationship, it was super normal and healthy, but it was just like we just happened to be a very close knit family, did a lot of stuff together. Yes. So I feel like we sit around the dinner table now, and it's just like weird.
It's different.
Brett's like, I can talk. We gotta talk.
Well,
honey.
and what's
Say
interesting
things.
too is I wonder, because I'm a girl mom, you're a boy mom.
Right.
Boys typically are closer with their moms. Usually their mama's boys. I am still a daddy's girl.
Right. Me too.
Right. And my kids are daddy's girls.
Yeah.
They don't even live with dad, and they're still daddy's girls.
Right.
I'm like, how is this fair to me?
I guess it just works out that way
somehow.
Think it does. It's just like one of those things that are,
In my 50s, I'm still super close with my dad.
Yeah, me
and
too.
I talk to my mom a lot. I'm friends with my mom. But I've just always been a daddy's girl. So I think it is. So you having boys, I think, is going to make that harder. How did your husband handle it? How was it? Was it different for him?
No, I mean, of course I think he's upset more than I'm upset. Do you know what I mean? He's like, I'll be fine. Like he thinks he's just no big deal. It's just this is what you're supposed to do. You go on to college, whatever.
Yeah,
but
that's kind of how I think I have a guy brain.
Yeah, maybe.
I think I approach most things like a guy, and I've had some of my guy friends have told me like,
cold and not caring,
cold and uncaring. That's me in a nutshell. But I will say, my friend Ray that listens to the show a lot,
I know
Ray. Kind
Ray.
of always say, Ray. That's right. Hi Ray. He always listens. Ray always says he thinks
Ray's
that's
getting his own shout out on this show.
I know, but Ray's like. He always says he goes
lots of comments from you, Ray.
Exactly. Tough exterior, soft, squishy inside is what he tells me about me. I'm like, it's true. I under all this meanness.
Right. Yeah.
I just when the girls left, I pretended I didn't care, and I cried in my closet cry room.
I doubt you pretended you didn't care,
I didn't
but it was
pretend I didn't
easier
care.
for you.
I cry more in silence alone in my closet.
Well, I never cry. And
I cry I did cry. I will say I did cry.
Well, no, I did cry on this, but I never cry for anything else. I'm just not a crier.
Oh, really?
No, I'm not. No.
I'm totally a crier. Well, it's 'cause
the only
I
things that
blame
made
Hallmark.
me cry was this thing we talked about in the last episode when I was like beaten down, and then Jesse going away the whole week before. Everything just made me cry. Like I was watching National Geographic show with I know it was about Yellowstone because we had just went there, and there were bears there, and the mama bear is like raising the cubs, and then it's like, and now the cubs leave the mother to go to whatever, and I'm like, wow, like start crying. I'm like, that's the kind of stuff, like that's the kind of stuff I was triggered constantly of things of like random animals leaving their,
Well, I think what has helped me in it is the impenetrable walls that I have put up around that stone cold heart of mine. My therapist says is what keeps me from doing this. Right. Lisa Washington has been helping me break those walls.
Oh, that's
down.
who we're calling your therapist.
Well, no, actually, therapists in the past. There's a strain of therapists who've been through many. It takes Takes a bunch to
takes
put
a
together
village
this
of therapists for Kristen.
But over the years, like I think that's what I did is I had this protective mechanism around like my heart and my emotions and everything, and I didn't show it very much. I would show it my closet is seen more. What was that movie years ago? War Room. It was a Christian movie. It was the lady or prayer room. I don't think it was called War Room. I can't remember. But it was about a movie, and she had this prayer room, and it was in her closet.
Oh,
I totally had
my
that in
office
my
is in my closet half the time.
Is it? Well, my closet. The thing with the closet is in my house where I have a nice walk-in closet, and you can't hear me from in there. So if I'm in there bawling my eyes out, the kids aren't hearing it. So
I did go in there to cry too.
Yeah, most of the moms and the women I know have. You guys know you have a cry room. You know where it is. Everybody
My
has
closet.
it. Sometimes it's your closet. Sometimes it's your car.
Sometimes it's the bathroom.
Sometimes it's a bathroom. Mine's my closet. But that's kind of where I just would go. And actually from the movie, I started putting little verses up and different like quotes in my little cry closet because it was happening so frequently.
Yeah.
And that actually, that was about the time Bailey was leaving to go to college. So I think it's one of those things like everything's
just kind of hitting you at once.
Yeah.
I think that's what it is.
This momming thing is not easy.
It's not easy. Adulting, momming, it's
Yeah.
all rough. But yeah, crying, that I definitely did that a lot in the probably all from mid-July to mid-August.
Yeah.
Like every day
Yeah.
I would just start crying because I would think of something and be like, oh, you're not going to be here for this and that. Yeah. And I was doing it alone, and it was making things worse. And I would go to bed at night, and that National Geographic thing like kind of set the whole thing off, that I just started bawling in bed, and I never do that. And then Jesse had appeared, and I like stopped because I'm like, I'm not going to make him feel bad.
Right.
That I'm so upset that he's leaving. Like, I want him to be excited. I want him to be looking forward to this, not feel like he's deserting me.
Right.
And so I would go in the closet and I cry alone. I call my mom crying. She feels so bad because she went through it with me. She was having that.
And we don't know that they went through it with us. And I keep telling, like a couple of my girlfriends, Shelby said this to me the other day. She's like, the kids will get older and they will realize like all the stuff you're going through. They're not going to realize it now because I keep trying to make them realize it now.
Right. No, you have to learn the life experiences have to get you there. But I think the way that I dealt with it the best was I was trying to hide it from Jesse so much, and I was like, you know what, I have to talk to him because he's the person that I would be talking to you about this. Yeah. And now I can't talk to him about it if it was anything else that I was upset about. But here I am, the most upset I've ever been, and I'm not talking to him about it. So we had to go, I had to ship one of my Belly Ups orders out. And I went, and I said, Jesse, will you come to UPS with me? So he's like, okay. So we get in the car and we're driving. And then all of a sudden I just started of course, bawling. And I'm like, I have to tell you everything. I just have to get it off of my chest.
Oh, yeah.
And I told him why I was feeling so sad and that I didn't want him to feel bad and that I didn't want him to, feel guilty or anything like that. This is a natural emotion for me to feel. And, then he started crying. We were both crying in the car. We had to pull over the car, just crying. And then you know what? After I got everything out, I felt so much better.
I felt like cry is good.
Well, it wasn't the cry part. It was actually telling him and telling him instead of hiding it from him about how sad I was.
Yeah.
I don't know if I sound pathetic now or not, but I did.
Because I think so many people deal with this, and it's a fine balance because, I know from a parenting perspective and parenting older kids, which is what we're talking, because I realize not everybody's going to college, but at some point, most people, a lot of kids are going to leave the nest. And I've been having this discussion with my kids, and I won't share stuff. And then I've got fussed at by one. I'm like, well, why don't you share? We can't know what's going on with you. Why don't you share? And then I share, and then they're like, well, you shouldn't have shared that. This is, don't make your problems our problems. I'm like, well, what the frig? Seriously, make up your mind. Am I sharing or not sharing? So it's such a fine.
Just depends on what you're sharing. If it's appropriate for them.
But it's hard to determine that. Yeah. I think for a lot of parents, and I say this jokingly, but it's really not a joke. I kind of told my kids, I'm like, I know I've screwed you guys up. Mm-hmm. I will happily pay for your therapist later on because we don't know what we're supposed to do.
Well,
and I think there's really no right or wrong.
What they're supposed to do, right? I mean,
they don't give us an instruction manual. No. They send us. You guys have to jump through more red tape to I signed more paperwork, I don't know, at the med spa than I signed bringing my child home from the hospital. Right. I'm not kidding.
No, you're right.
I literally, and then buying a house. Well,
Yeah.
the house is at 87,000 papers. Cars are 87,000 papers.
Kids, it's like,
Kids, like,
here,
here
take
it is.
this.
Or here she is.
Just don't drop it.
See you later.
Bye.
Yeah, they wheel you out to the car to get their liability over, then you pop in and you're on your
Yeah.
own.
It's
I
like,
mean-
hope you put the car seat in right. See
But
ya.
can you remember bringing, because Jesse's 18, Bailey's
Are you
23.
gonna make me cry?
Can you remember, huh?
Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Can you remember bringing him home? Like, do you remember?
Yes.
Back, yeah.
100%.
So how quick did that? So people listening that are like, man, I got little kids, and people keep saying it flies. How quick does it fly?
But well, there's the cliche, like in the blink of an eye, right?
Yeah.
It really does feel that way. And I can remember so much about his childhood. We lived in New York City for the first 3 years, and just so many instances, and not because there's pictures of them or videos of them or anything.
Yeah.
It's just because of these experiences that we've had together. Because I always say, like, experiences are the most important things
Oh, for
versus
sure.
possessions versus anything else.
Yep.
Experiences are the things that you're always going to remember, the things
Yep.
that they're always going to remember, and I have so many things like that. And when the other day, I was looking for something, so I had to put a presentation together for something. So I was looking for a picture when I was much younger, when I first got diagnosed with diabetes, because I had to find that error. And I was going through all the pictures, and I'm just seeing these things, and I'm like, oh my God, we've done so much stuff. Like, when you really look through this and this and this and this, and there's so much there. So when you look at it like that, like, wow, it's been, like, we've done so much. It's been so much time.
Yeah.
It's been so many days and weeks and months and years. But when I look at it now, I'm like, how did he get to be that old?
Yeah.
Because I have my friend, like, I posted his thing on Facebook of him going to school.
Yeah.
And I have my roommates from college commenting on it. I'm like, wait a minute. I was just, I
we
was
were
just moving in
roommates.
with you.
Yeah.
Like, how is this happening
Well,
right
I think
now?
it's because
don't
we
get it.
still think of ourselves in our 20s.
I do.
Right? It's like we feel like, I don't know. I mean, for you, we're both in our 50s.
No, what are you
It's,
talking
I'm in my
Kristen,
50s. Laura's still in her
thank
20s.
you.
All right. I am in
I'll
my
go
50s.
with-
Laura is an undisclosed age.
Thank you.
But at the same time,
Much
like,
better.
I don't think of myself. I'm not a Golden Girl. Like, I look, and I love Golden Girls
I
because
would
it's on
hope to hell
Hallmark
not.
Channel, so I'm binge watching it. But it's this. We were the same. I mean, I am the same age they were when they started filming
Yeah,
that show.
I don't understand.
And I can't, because I always thought people was older. And like, now that I'm older by the world standards, I don't think of myself as older. So I can still remember my experiences in college. And same thing, like, my girlfriends from college, we still stay in touch. And like, I still remember high school experiences, college experience.
Right.
And I love that my kids are going to have that, but it's weird to think that that's 30 something years apart.
Well, yeah, and see, that's another thing. People were talking about at where my son's going to school. There was some big party on the Saturday night, and and I'm like, oh my God, he's going to be going to like this crazy party.
Yeah,
and
he is.
I'm like, wait a minute, like,
Go,
I want
Jesse.
to go to it.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like, I should be going to crazy party. But then I'm like, wait, no, I shouldn't. Like,
I will totally go to the crazy party.
well, I would like to,
I
but
really
not a
will.
college one. But I think of myself in that way, you know, that like, wow, why I'm supposed to be going to parties, not
Yeah.
you. You're a kid. You're a little
You're
kid.
a baby. They're still your
You're a little
baby.
kid.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're still my baby, and I you know, like my mom says too, you're my baby. Like, I always think of you as my baby. Like,
Yeah.
you doesn't matter how old you are. Like, my first inclination is going to be to take care of you, to make sure you're okay above everything else. And I think that's just a natural motherly instinct, no
Yeah.
matter how you cut it.
And I don't think that goes away. I mean, I think my mom's still extremely protective of me. My dad, I've had that conversation. I was like, you know, when do I stop worrying? He's like, never.
Never.
He's like, it hadn't happened for me yet. And,
Yeah.
you know, he's like, you're grown with kids. And it's just one of those things as a parent. That's, you know, we have kids. They're ours they're ours forever.
Yeah.
Until we're not here anymore, they're ours forever.
Oh God,
So,
now we're getting really
I
depressing.
know, it's really sad. We didn't mean to take you down this depressed hole, but you know, I think what's neat about it is you mentioned the experiences, and you guys can have those experiences. That, I will say, for me, is the one thing I regret. I did a lousy job when my kids were growing up at experiences, because I was, you know, we moved around a lot. Most of it was all career wise for me. My ex-husband's a musician, so he was
Right.
touring, but by the time we had kids, he had stopped touring.
Mm-hmm.
And so we would have occasional reunion shows, and that was it. And, you know, my kids now are all very
Yeah.
into music, which they did not get those genes from me, thankfully. But we didn't create the experiences. I think you guys have done it, you know, you and Sean have done a really, really good job at that. But I feel like that's the part that kids remember.
They
and
do.
that we remember looking back.
Right.
I can remember the trips we have, but like, I'm trying to make up for lost time now.
Right.
Because I feel like I was extremely and obviously I'm divorced, so that took for those of you guys who have been divorced, it doesn't take a long time to get divorced, but it's a decade worth of stuff. I mean, it really is, because, you know, if whether your divorce goes through in a month or a year or 4, you know, I've got a friend who's going on like 3 or 4 years now. You still got a decade of stuff. You got stuff leading up to it. You got the divorce, and you got all the stuff that you've got to get out of, whether it's emotionally or financially afterwards. So you got a decade that's kind of lost, right? Before that, you know, we did some experiences, not a ton. Now I'm like, okay, crap, I got to make up for some lost time. So that's my focus. That was started in 2020, was supposed to be my year of fun. Pandemic thought it'd be fun to kibosh that.
That was pretty rude.
But I know, it was very rude of the universe. But what we're doing now is I'm trying to create experiences with, you know, the girls. We went to New York for, because Bailey's up there for 4th of July. That was awesome. We had such a good time. And I'm trying to create one-on-one experiences. So I'm taking each of them on a trip.
Oh, yeah.
It travel's still a little wonky, so we're trying to navigate that piece.
Yeah,
but
my travel just got canceled because of ridiculous restrictions.
The restrictions are they're a little much. But we're trying to figure out how we can navigate around them. But, you know, I want to take each of them on a trip, because to your point, that's when looking back what they remember.
Yep.
It's not the pair of tennis shoes that you bought them. It's not the purse you bought them. It's not, you know, whatever. It's the experiences they created.
And it was not necessarily just trips, though, either. You know, it could be a routine or a ritual that you have with them. Like, you know, like I was saying with Jesse, like I play chess with him every night. Like that's something that, you know, that's our thing. You know, we always shake hands at the end. Like,
that's funny.
Yeah, we're serious about our chess, though. I mean, he's better than me, though, I have to say. But that's our like thing, you know. And if I win, we must play another game, because he will not go down losing. So it's kind of funny.
That's neat. Yeah. But I think little things like that, and I don't mean, experiences, or I have a friend, Lauren, that has a podcast called Experiences Or Everything, and that's the whole gist of it, is like, they don't have to be this expensive, elaborate thing. Now, elaborate trips are awesome. I'm all in favor of them. Once we can go places. Once I go international again, I'm still doing. I didn't get to do my Italy trip last year.
I know.
That was solo, so that had nothing to do with parenting.
I saw you put a little like Italian quote though on something. I've been
getting back in my Italian
quotes. Okay, good.
Yes, I have been. But that has nothing to do. Well, I guess it does have to do with parenting, because it's me as a parent going by myself, which makes me better at being me. Makes me better at parenting. But to create experiences for our kids, even if they're going off to college. So I'm still trying to do that with Bailey, but I've got a couple years with Mia, a little bit, a few years with Kennedy. That's the opportunity, I think, as parents, that maybe makes that transition easier. Like, is it easier for you since you have things to look back on?
No.
Or is it two separate issues?
I think it's two separate issues, but I mean, I'm happy for those things. I'm happy that I have those things to look back on and feel like there's very full. But on the flip side, it just actually makes it feel like everything I'm doing now has a void in it, Yeah. So, it's kind of sad.
It is tough. I mean, but
I put his I am pathetic. I just realized.
Do you have a cardboard cutout of his head?
Well, I did, yes, and I do, but I had that for his graduation, which I put outside.
So you didn't buy that just to keep at the dinner table?
No, that would be a little weird.
Have you put it at the dinner table? I'm kind of curious.
Just
you totally put
coffee, breakfast. The first day he was gone, I put it across from me. It was just me by myself, and I put it there. And then the other day I was folding laundry, and I put his picture on it. Not that, but another little picture I had. I just faced it towards me. Yes, I realized that I might have an issue.
Girl, you do you.
Yeah. But you know what? It's not hurting anything.
It's totally
you know what I mean?
Not hurting anything.
He is having a great time already. He's, running around there, going to his classes, figuring out everything.
Going to the big parties on the weekend.
Going to the big parties.
You were going to the big parties too. You cannot.
Shh, we don't talk
not
about
to
that
children,
to my
but
kids. I was a perfect.
Deny him.
Perfect. I'm not.
No,
it was a perfect.
I know, and I think part of it, and let's be real, part of why we worry when they leave the house is that we know all the stupid stuff we did at that age.
Yeah,
like stupid stuff.
Well,
thank God.
But you know what?
There's no social media.
Yeah, there are no cameras or no nothing, and that's funny because it just made me think something. I had to find this picture of me when I was younger, when I was first diagnosed with diabetes, and I could not there were no selfies. There's no nothing. You never took a picture by yourself.
And it wasn't on Facebook, and it wasn't.
You never took a picture by yourself.
Yep.
There's never a picture of you just standing there like, hey. It was always like your friends, your family, whatever, because that's what you wasted the film on. It wasn't just like taking pictures of me.
Because it was film, because you had to drive it and get it developed.
Yeah, and drop it off at the place. So it was very hard for me to find that. But now there's everything is documented.
Yes.
Everything you do. And even if you're not documenting it, somebody else is.
So that's good and bad, because then you have all the memories of your trips and all the experiences
Right.
that you're doing. You've got those out there, but at the same time, you've got all the crazy stuff you did too.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
Not me.
Well, not you, but for the kids
next
today.
generation. Yeah. Yeah. That's
But
hard.
I think the experience, I mean, that's all part of life. It just, we did.
Well, maybe it helps people to make smarter choices if they're knowing
I'm
that
telling you,
potentially they're going to, it's going to come back to
It
haunt
does
them.
not appear to help people make smarter choices, because I'm seeing some
Not
dumb
right,
choices.
Yeah,
out
I
there.
do too. That's true.
And we had this debate in my house about, the Karens. You've heard the thing about the Karens, which is the.
Of course I've heard.
I know. So my kids are like, well, you're such a Karen. I'm like, I'm so not a Karen, but apparently I'm a Karen. So, the Karen's role is to be protective of our kids. And that is where I do agree that I totally fit that mold. Because we do, as moms and as dads, we want to make sure the best things happen for our kids. And
Right.
that they only have the good stuff. But if we're being honest, most of what made us the people we are, and that made us have the strength that we do, weren't the easy times that somebody carefully curated for
Right.
us. They were the times that where we screwed up, or we got hurt, or we did something where like, oh my God, I'll never do. That's how we.
Or you had to
learn.
struggle with something personally for
struggled.
yourself that nobody could help you with.
Right. Absolutely.
So yeah, those are those things that make you stronger. And yeah, I think that people are essentially sometimes coddled, that they
Yeah.
and put in this protective bubble, which
Yes.
which I'm definitely guilty of a little bit with my kids. But
I am not guilty of that. I'm the opposite, I think, of you on that, because I mentioned this. I think I talked about this on the show before. When we went to did you guys have to do orientation up at college?
Yeah.
no?
Well, it was a different thing because he was in the honors program, so we did an
Okay,
honors
so you
thing.
did
We actually skipped the actual orientation,
Okay.
and he did it online.
We had to do both. So at Georgia, they had orientation that was mandatory for incoming students and their parents, and then the honors had a separate one as well. But it was all at the same time. It was all on
Right.
the same day. Well, what was interesting is I remember, and this was years ago when Bailey went. I remember going there. And she's like, we got orientation. We picked the date that worked with the calendars. We went up, got a hotel because it was a 2-day thing. And we went to orientation. It was fine. So we show up. I'm like, all right, what are we doing? She's like, oh, well, there's an app. Give me your phone. I'll download it. It tells you this, blah, blah, blah. She knew everything. And, she knew what was going to be required. She knew what she had already looked and figured out all
Right.
what orientation was. She knew she was going to need her driver's license for the student ID. She had everything. So we're just sitting there going about our merry way and doing it. And I'm watching the other parents. And there were, I kid you not, more than half of the parents like, sweetie, you need your driver's license. Did you get this? I'm like, what are you going to do in a month and a half when this child, when you're not here, you
Right.
move them into the dorm and you're not here and they go. I mean, I'm shocked there weren't parents walking their kids into the bathroom. I mean, so you guys, if you're
That's rough.
right, I know I could be wrong, but they were literally like checklisting them. Like, here's your license. They would have the license. I've got your license in my purse. Why is your license in mom's purse? I mean, come on.
That's true. But, some kids are more resourceful than others. Like you are resourceful. I'm resourceful. My kids are resourceful too. And Bailey obviously sounds that way
Yeah.
too. But I mean, there are kids that just aren't. And I don't
But
know
what
if it's
happens when they go to
necessarily.
college?
Well, then that's when they got to figure it out.
But that's what I mean,
they should have been given a little
They
bit of
should have
life
been
skills
given,
along
yeah.
the way to be
So
able
for
to
you
handle
guys,
that.
you guys
but-
listening, that's the thing is there are basic life skills kids, and we talked about this in our
Yeah.
episode, or education episode that Matt and I did. There are life skills they have to know before they leave home, and they are not being taught in school, and we can't depend on school
Right.
to teach them. So as parents, that's our job.
Yeah, absolutely.
But I think that makes the launching, for me, it made the launching easier. I'm like, I sit there looking at the other fools running around going, oh, she's going to be just fine.
Right.
I mean, which sounds terrible. And she is resourceful. She's
Yeah.
fiercely resourceful.
Right.
And we've got, my middle one's the same way. My youngest, good Lord, I don't know. We'll see. We got a few more years. But with that said, I actually made a list of all the things I need to make sure she is proficient and good in before
that's good.
she leaves the nest. Because that one may take some. That's going to take some.
Yeah.
it's-
No,
it's
I agree with that. And in fact, I did a video once of the 12 life skills kids should know before they
Ooh,
go
we
to
need to find
college.
that and
Yeah.
post
Or actually
that,
by
yeah.
the time they're 16.
What type of things are on there? Do you remember some?
Being able to do laundry.
Yes.
Being,
my kids do their own laundry.
I
I did not know how to do laundry until I went to college.
Yeah,
I did
No,
not
I
do
did
a
laundry
single-
at home. I did. Although I remember doing laundry at home, but if I tell my mother that, she's like, "You never did your laundry." I'm like, "Yes,
Yeah.
yes, I did. I
I
remember
never did
doing
mine.
it." But I'm trying to think of what else did I have in the video. It was cute.
Laundry's a big one because I think when you go to college, that's
Well, they should
when
be
I
able to
learned.
cook a meal.
Yes,
Yeah.
yes.
Both of my
can
kids,
cook.
yeah,
Yep.
my little one loves to cook, so that's
Yeah.
good. Little, he's 15 and bigger than me. And, just, I don't remember what it is, but we'll find it and post it because
we'll
it was
find it
good.
and post it because I think
I made
that'd
it
be
2
cool
years
because
ago.
I think that is. But those, I feel like as a parent, knowing they have the skills that they need to survive and thrive. Let's just not say so. We want them doing more than surviving.
Well, my kids have good survival skills. They can throw them in the woods and they'll be good.
Oh, mine would too.
Yeah.
Mine would. Or all, your mom would not.
I would
be
not.
terrible
I
in
would
the
not
woods.
either.
But my kids can all do that.
They got
'cause-
their knives and their survival straws, and they're like ready to go. Jesse wants to live. His goal. I mean, he's so smart, but he wants to live in a tiny house in the woods and like just live off the land. Like that's his.
Mia wants to live in an RV bus
Oh, yeah.
traveling out west. So.
Brett would probably want to do that too.
know.
He could do his music on the way.
They'll have their
Really good drive.
guitars. It's true. I mean, but it's so interesting to kind of watch the kids, and I think the more as parents we can help them develop the life skills
Right.
they need, then it's never going to be easy on us.
Oh,
And
put
like I
gas in a
said-
car. That's the other one.
Oh, that's a good one.
Yeah, learn
That's
how
a
to
good
put gas
one,
in a
too.
car because you know what? When you're pulling up to the gas station, well, you had girls, but this is going to sound sexist if I say it this way, but like I should not be sitting in the car. I mean, I should not be pumping gas when my teenage boys are sitting in the car. Like they should be out doing it.
Yeah.
It's just a
No,
chivalrous
but we did a
kind of thing.
We did a chivalry episode too.
Yeah,
I'm
I
very big on
totally believe in chivalry. And
I do too.
My kids are opening doors for women. They're doing that. And
I
if you don't like
love
it, then
that.
just tell them to go first. I don't
Yeah.
know what to say.
Yeah,
my
exactly.
son is going to be chivalrous.
We did an entire episode on that because I am huge on chivalry,
Yeah.
and that's a very, very, for me, very important. I have girls who do not.
Well, you
are
want
not into that.
No, they're not. But you know what? They're going to want to be treated nicely,
Right.
and you want them to be
Yeah.
treated nicely. You want them to expect that.
Yes.
You
Yeah.
want them to expect that a boy is going to treat them
Nicely.
nicely and with respect, not
Yeah.
like let the door slam in their face when
Yeah.
they're walking through. Like
I
that's.
agree.
Yeah.
I agree.
with
But
you.
it's a whole lot. Yeah, whole. But I think that's
That's a
the
whole
thing is
other episode.
As we let them fly the nest, as we let them kind of get out there, it's really just a matter of figuring out what they need to do to thrive and how we can manage our emotions.
Yeah,
while
well,
we're
I'm
doing
still
that.
in the thick of it right now. That's why I sound a
You
little
are, and you've
sad.
not cried this entire episode.
I know.
and
Well,
I'm
like I
very
said, once
proud
I
of
was
you.
able to talk to him and tell him how I
Yeah.
felt a lot better. Like the actual move-in process,
Yeah.
it was better than what I thought. I was kept busy because I was like,
Yeah,
I
setting
mean,
up
he has a
everything.
decorator, interior designer for a father, and
Yes.
like,
Well, that
crafty
helps.
and a very organized mother. So his place looks really good. He would have just walked in there with a duffel bag. He, honest to God, had one little tiny duffel bag of clothes. That's all he would have brought with him. That's it. He don't care.
He's a guy.
I'm like, you'd probably need a toothbrush. He's like, oh yeah, all right, let me go get it. Like,
Yeah,
that's it.
Well, he's a guy. I mean, it's the funny ones are the kids that go and have like Ole Miss. I have friends whose kids have gone to Ole Miss. The girls at Ole Miss, like they hire interior designers.
Oh, I've
I mean,
seen
your
some
husband would
really amazing girls'
he'd be able to
rooms.
design
Yeah.
something great. But they have the girls' rooms are
Oh, yeah,
way
I've seen
different.
some of them from
They're
there. They're
way
pretty-
different than
right,
the guys.
yeah.
Way different. So yeah, and we
Right.
changed. Bailey lived in a different place the first 3 years of undergrad. And I'm like, I am not redoing it. Like we literally had 3
Right.
different design schemes each year. It was awful. But anyway, so I digress. But I think the main thing is as you're launching, as all of us listening are launching,
painful.
because I've been through it once. I've got to go through it a few more times, but it does get better. I will say, being on the other side of it, where I have a child in post-grad now. She's done the college thing. She loved it. She survived, knock on wood, did really well. But it's a great way for them to come into their own.
Yeah, and you know what? I love to hear about the new experiences and the
Yeah.
things that he's doing and the classes and the people he's meeting,
So it's a
internships
new
and all
it's
these
just
things.
a new topic
yeah.
of conversation.
But it's just hard when I'm not like the central figure in it. You know what I mean?
I guess the moral of the story with parenting is that at some point we're not going to be the center of their universe. That happened for me when they were like 2, but at some point they are.
I
But as
know.
long as we can grow them into good humans, make them contribute
I agree.
to the world.
Much
Those
as
of
it
you
hurts
moms
me.
and dads raising boys, I for one thank you for raising chivalrous children because I appreciate it even
Yeah.
if other people do not. So all right, so until next week, You guys, thank
Which
you,
I
Laura,
won't
for
be here
being
next
here.
week.
Laura will not be here. I know. We've had the last few weeks, so I
Feel free to have me back.
we definitely will. We definitely will. But hug your babies because they will not be there that long, and just turn them into good humans and try to be a good human yourself. So we will see you guys next week for another episode.